Welcome to Scatterbrained, a weekly subplot of mind controllers. I'm your host, Brandon Craw, and today I'm going to be talking about what video games and media I've been enjoying this week. Unfortunately, Joe is not here, so this is going to be somewhat of a shorter, smaller episode. Joe just got back from EVO 2024, and we have a lot of exciting stuff to talk about with him in regards of like the fighting games he watched, and we were going to do an episode on the psychology of fighting games, but because he got back, and because I have some other stuff going on, we have a little bit of some scheduling conflicts this week, so I'm just going to do a shorter solo show. But yeah, thank you all for sticking with me through this one. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right into it. This week, I finished Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, and oh my god, this game has just solidified itself as like one of my favorite games ever. I'm a sucker for the big open world RPG games, and this one, while not like, a traditional what you think of like as a turn-based RPG, it still has like the action aspect, and it still encourages what I love about open world RPGs, and that's exploration. I feel like everything with this game, the level design, the map design, even the bosses, everything is just so masterfully done. And there will be times when I was like running through the world and you don't notice that you yourself are exploring, or how like the level is designed to encourage you to go a certain way or check something, because it all is so seamlessly done. It's like hidden, and it makes you feel adventurous when you finally explore and check out this like building or this crevice and turn a cliff and you find an item. This game is just so perfect to me. I loved it so much. In particular, the boss fights, I admittedly like would summon a lot of people. I would summon players online and use the either the mimic tier or use whatever summons that they had there. And nothing wrong with that. I actively encourage it if you find that this game is a bit too challenging for you at the moment. But I wanted to challenge myself into doing some of these boss fights without that, and really learning the patterns, learning how to dodge roll, learning, I guess, what elements they're weak to, or even not, just like kind of brute forcing it through a strength build and like trying to block all their attacks. And this game really encouraged that. I know it happens during the main base game, but even more so in the DLC, I just felt this desire to really learn the boss patterns and feel like I conquered those fights. And this game just did an amazing job at creating these new bosses, creating these new worlds. The lore is something I personally want to dive deeper into and understand a bit better, but I'm not quite there yet. And back to the boss fights, I just loved, I think in particular, that last fight with spoilers, so if you haven't beaten Shadow of the Erdtree yet, this is your chance to drop out. That Radon fight, oh my god, just seeing him, there was a reason why he was the biggest, like most intriguing fight, a memorable fight from the base game, and it feels like they just did it again here. I think there's some other fights that might have topped Radon for me, but in the Shadows of the Erdtree DLC. But I really enjoyed how that fight just starts off in a similar fashion, of where he like does this like spinning, like star dropping attack. He's just kind of all over you, and you have to really stay close to him as opposed to stay far away, which is like, feels like it goes against my nature whenever I'm fighting a boss. I always want to get far away and like pluck them with some magic spells or anything, but this time you have to get right up in his face. And then seeing his second phase pop off, I believe it was his brother Mikola, like comes through, gives him this holy power, and then in addition to some other moves, he has like this one where he'll pull you in and like whisper some promising kind words into his ear, and if you let that hit you twice, it instantly kills you, but it says that Mikola stole your heart. And I just love that flavor. It was such a good time. Oh man, I really want to, I kind of want to like go back into the game and just keep on exploring. I think there were some parts of the map where I could have done a bit more and gone a bit further to explore the bosses there, but I just kind of stopped myself, not for any real reason, but I started feeling a little like I wanted to finish the game and just kind of move on to some other stuff. Even though I love playing this game, I feel like once I hit that 40-hour mark, my patience with it starts wearing thin. And I just get eager to jump into another game, and that's kind of what I'm wanted to talk about here too, is like I'm not too sure what else to play now. I know Joe recommended Undertale for me, and I think I'm going to start that. I believe it's a relatively short game, so I'd like to get through that. But then there are some other indie games that came out this week. Dungeons of Hinterberg, Kunitsugami, Flock. Those are all some smaller games, probably not on anyone's headlines or anything, but I don't know. I love giving attention to the smaller indie games because they usually have a pretty rewarding experience and feels like it's always a bit different than the typical AAA games that I feel relatively used to playing at this point. And there's also like a lot of commentary about life, and we're primarily psychology and video game pods, so we love that commentary. If anybody has any recommendations for another indie game to jump into, maybe after I finish Undertale, then please let me know, because yeah, I'm just kind of a sucker for those right now. I think maybe next week, next week we'll have our fighting game competition psychology pod put out, but the week after that with Scatterbrained, maybe I'll have some more to report to y'all about the indie games I've been playing this week. So other than that, I think I'd like to just chat about maybe some news headlines, at least some that I saw this morning and saw yesterday that have kind of been on my mind. First one in particular is the Humble Games supposedly shut down. They definitely laid off a majority of their staff, and they claim that they are just restructuring the division, or like the Humble Games division, but it kind of seems like they're closing it down and not just restructuring, especially since nearly all of their staff have been affected. And like, shouts out to them. I know how much it sucks to get laid off, and I'm so sorry you're going through that. I hope you find something soon. But this news piece hit home to me because I felt like as like a struggling college student, Humble Games like really help. Just the fact that you can donate like or not donate, but pay for a small amount for a bunch of games, some you might not have heard of, was just a fantastic deal. Some of them might have been like a bit older games, like 1 or 2 years old, but it felt like it was always a great deal. And I feel like they maintained that kind of philosophy throughout these years and still provided like a nice space for smaller games, or smaller, I believe they started branching out to more than games, but some smaller pieces of media to be packaged in and distributed. And you knew you were getting like a relatively quality product because they have that Humble Games name attached to it. So really sucks to see them go down like this. I hope this isn't the end of it. Just to give some context, I believe technically IGN owns the Humble Games. But then Ziff Davis owns IGN, and a lot of people are pointing to Ziff Davis as the one who decided to close down Humble Games, even though IGN owns them as well. I'm not really sure what's going on. Maybe throughout the week we'll get a bit more information about what's developing here, but I'm really sad to see that go. Another bit of news that I saw this morning that I wanted to chat about was this one's kind of smaller. Mario and Rabbids chief creative lead, I believe his name is David Soliani, is leaving for a new quote-unquote exciting adventure. These games, I played a couple of them when I kind of had nothing else to play, and maybe the Mario and Rabbids games, you could kind of find them for cheap after not too long. Unfortunately, didn't play the last one, but I had a great time with the first one. It's like a very strategy-based, like placement-based, almost RTS light version of Mario games with a lot of, I don't know, creativity, a lot of vibrant colors, and a brilliant color palette. And it was just like kind of a simple game. It wasn't too much of like I don't know, didn't garner like much of a hardcore audience, but I had a great time with them. And, kind of sad to see this creative lead leave. And hopefully they, continue putting out these games. I'm not too sure how the previous one did. I believe it was called Sparks of Hope for the Switch. Hopefully it did well, but yeah, it felt like it kind of filled this niche of like friendlier RTSs that I don't think a lot of other games are doing right now. I don't know if RTS is really the way to describe it. It's more of like It's like a strategy action game, maybe, might be a better way to put it, where you have like 2 to 4 different characters who you can control and place around the battlefield. So, not sure exactly what genre this qualifies for, but it was fun. So, you know what? I think that's going to do it for me this week. Like I said, it was a shorter one. Just kind of wanted to put something out there for the weekly feed. Yeah, next week we'll be back. We'll have a pretty exciting pod with the psychology of fighting games, and Joe will be back. So we'll be looking forward to it. But be sure to follow us on socials, Instagram, Twitch. Gonna try and start streaming some more. And yeah, I hope you all take care of yourselves, take care of your mental health, do whatever you need for yourself, give yourself that break, be easier on yourself. I know things can get tough, so appreciate you guys, and I hope to see y'all soon. Take care, everybody. Bye.